to the Soul Fire podcast, where healing is raw, truth is sacred, and your story gets to burn and rebuild in the same breath. I'm Power Coach Alishia, pattern breaker, soul mirror, fire starter, and the unapologetic voice of the burn it down and rise anyways revolution. We don't fluff your wounds, we don't filter your truth, and we don't water down healing so that people stay comfortable. You've spent way too damn long proving your worth to people who only love the version of you that stayed small, quiet, and convenient. If you've ever swallowed your truth to keep the peace, shrunk yourself to stay chosen, or disappeared in your life, this season isn't just a reset or another motivational podcast. This is where you reclaim your voice, your fire, and your fucking self. I'll give you the truth that heals, frameworks that hold, and soul codes that will change how you live, lead, love, and rise. Lovey, come forward. It's time for you to embody your wholeness. And I'm not only leading this season, I'm living it right beside you. Let's fucking go. Oh my gosh, this is going to be like a completely sideline, doesn't have anything to do with the fucking podcast, but I don't give a shit sort of thing. And that's like, if you have never had the spicy chicken sandwich and then like the potato wedges from Flying J, you are completely missing out. It's not that spicy. So if you don't like spicy food, it's not that big of a deal, but it's amazing. Anyways, I just had to share that. So I've been recording like the last episode, this episode in what I call my Lotus Room. And it's so cool, the story of the Lotus Room. And one of these times I'll have to just like drop an extra episode. Actually, this is what we'll do. I will probably go live in the Star Guided Soul Healing Facebook group. And I will share the story of the Lotus Room. I'll share the story of my Buddha, an elephant that Daniel painted me, just some really cool shit, and kind of like the layout and the storyline of that. So we'll do that as a mini series inside of the community. So if you're not in there, you're going to want to be, because I'll be dropping any mini series that I do, in there. All right. So this episode, we are talking about how you don't need to heal alone. You were never meant to. Okay, this goes right along with our monthly theme of Speaking the Language of Your Soul, which is your Language Reborn series. And this is all around speaking what's sacred and releasing what's survival. All right, so we're going to be diving into these sacred mirrors plus your soul connection. And one of the biggest lies that you bought into a long time ago, and it was embedded in you in a different way, but it just ended up being that you have to heal or grieve or be in pain alone. We were taught that, if you were in pain, if you're struggling, if, you're trying to heal, if you're religious, if you're spiritual, if you're doing any sort of that work, like you do that quietly, you do it where people don't see, because that's what makes you strong. That breaking down in private was like this big noble thing that our emotions made us burdens, right? And was embedded into us. But real healing, it happens in connection. It happens when your truth gets witnessed and you're loved anyways. You're accepted anyways. You're held anyways. So I want you to say this with me. I didn't choose isolation because I wanted to grow. I chose it because I didn't feel safe to be seen. I didn't choose isolation because I wanted to grow. I chose it because I didn't feel safe to be seen. I didn't choose isolation because I wanted to grow. I chose it because I didn't feel safe to be seen. I have spent a lot of my life not showing anyone my pain, until it was like so overbearing that I had no other choice. But it usually came out in anger first, at a level that you can't even imagine, destroying full rooms, just like throwing shit on the ground and shattering it, to then crying and breaking all the way down. Because when the pressure released, it was literally like, a lid on a pressure cooker, or when like the tea kettles would whistle, and that's what it was like, because I held it all alone because I didn't trust anyone to hold it. And over the years, I would say 5-ish years, I have been working really hard to allow people who are closest to me in more and more and more. Now, my mom has always been someone who has been the closest. She can feel my energy. You know, we don't live together. She can feel my energy. She lives 20 miles away and she'll call me, what's wrong? Are you okay? Talk to me, you know, and every time she calls and asks me that, I'm not okay. And, you know, so she's someone who has always, always, always held me. But then there was a time where, as time went on, if Daniel and I were having problems, he would always call my mom and say, oh, she's struggling. Or I would call her and be like, I'm so frustrated with him, to this, to that, you know, just because she would hold me and she was my voice of reason. It wasn't about my mom hating Daniel or, you know, whatever, choosing sides, because she's not like that. So she was never going to, quote unquote, do that. But my mom started to become like, she knows how I am. That was like kind of like her soundbite. I know how you are, Alishia, da 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 da. Now, you know, Alishia, you're a lot like your dad, da 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 da. Now, but, and I was always like, he was the victim and I was the villain. And one time I just got so frustrated with it. I lost my fucking shit and my mom and I got in a huge fight. We didn't talk for a couple days. It's just not like us. It's just not how things go. And that was the moment that I realized that I was going to learn how to regulate my own emotions and figure out how to do that. I mean, we're talking 5 years ago before I was even into, you know, emotional regulation work and self-awareness and emotional intelligence. But that's what started me down that journey. And then, of course, you know, the universe leads you as you're meant to go. And then that's why 2024, that was the year like where it all came together. But let me think, that wasn't 5 years ago. I lived in Utah for 8 years, or back in Utah for 8 years. That had to be the year of 2016. 9 years ago was like the first, like, you got to hold this on your own. So I would threaten Daniel, don't you dare call her, you know? And I just started working on holding it 9 years ago. It's crazy how long growth and transformation takes. But anyways, the point of this is about a month ago, almost a month ago to the day, I was just beside myself. Like, I had just not felt like this about myself ever. And I'm just crying and crying. I mean, it was just such a hard day. I felt bad for myself. Like, in a very painful way. Like when somebody you love more than anything is breaking down and there's literally nothing you can do to help them, but all you want to do is take their pain away. That's how I felt inside. And then I was feeling the pain of what I was feeling. So it was like a twofold. I was feeling that way about myself like we normally do other people. Plus, I was feeling the pain of what I was going through. It was nuts. I've never felt like that before in my life. And it wasn't this like moment of like breakdown, destruction, mad at nobody triggered it. I wasn't in a fight with anyone. Nobody upset me. Like, it wasn't any of that. It was just, it came from inside, I guess, is the best way to put it. And man, it literally set me off into like what would end up being a 3-week fucking soul storm with ruptures and unravelings, like that basically every day, every other day. But man, I was breaking down so bad and just, I couldn't hold myself. And that was nuts for me because I've always been able to hold myself mostly. Like, I would say 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, I'd be able to hold myself. And the other one time was the, destruction of my space. And so G comes home from work and this is our first day at the cottage this week. And I'm just sitting outside and I'm crying and I'm crying and I'm crying. And he sits down next to me. And he just holds me. And it was the craziest thing because it wasn't just physical holding. Like, it was energetic holding. And I didn't feel like I needed to, like, retract or shrink it down, or like it was too much, or like I couldn't fully feel. I just kept filling, and I just poured out everything, and I just cried and cried and cried, and I was so raw. Like the rawest I feel like I've ever felt on the vulnerability, pain, softness, honesty, openness. Because I've been extremely raw on the anger, lose my shit, frustration side. But on this side is the rawest I've ever been. And it was so fucking unbelievable to be held in that way that I realized that I was doing myself a huge injustice doing it all alone. So if you've ever convinced yourself that you're better off healing alone and dealing with it alone, being in pain alone, going through it alone, ask yourself why. And don't allow it to come from head and heart. Drop into that soul deep. Make it come from the part of you that stopped believing that you were safe to be held. Or maybe you have never felt safe to be held because you were forced to be the strong one, like fucking 6 years old. So for me, I up to that point, I had never 100% unequivocally felt safe to be held at the most vulnerable state. At all of those levels, I had never felt that way. And it was nuts. And that was a moment that I was just like, you're not meant to do this alone. See, there are parts of your soul that they only awaken in the presence of another. And that gets mirrored back to you in the sacred connection that you're building with that person. I can think a few weeks, 2 weeks later, after that, I went to the cottage and I was like, hey, I'm not going to sleep here anymore. I don't, because we're moving into my main house. I'm like, I have completed the cycle of this place. I'm not angry with it. I'm not mad at it. I'm not disappointed at it. I'm not frustrated with the cottage. It's just no longer for me. And it's completed like its purpose in my life. And I want to spend very minimal time here because it feels like trying to keep a chapter going that's been closed for a while for me. So I'll come a couple of times to like pack up, but I'm not going to stay here, right? And that same day, G had an appointment for an MRI. It was just a really, really, really long day. And I was still very raw and like really holding and processing and introspective. Of course, both Mercury and Venus are retrograde. There's eclipses going on at the same time. And man, I was feeling all of this energy. Just remember that fucking tennis shoe in the dryer. Boom, 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 right? One thing, the next thing, the next feeling, the next soul deep, the next thing to heal, and it just kept feeling like that, right? However, we took one car to the cottage to start packing up, and then he needed to go to his MRI appointment. So I went with him there as well. By the time we got home, I was so over capacity. I was so overextended. I was so uncalibrated that I was struggling. I just had this like unsettled foundation. And remember I told you this song because it's fucking unbelievable. Well, it is for me. And the song Pluto by Sleeping at Last came on my playlist. Pluto by Sleeping at Last. I'm sure you can find it on Spotify and Amazon Music. I listen to Apple Music because I have an iPhone. Okay. Pluto by Sleeping at Last. This song totally speaks to my soul, probably because I have a Pluto complex that impacts my life in ways you can't even possibly imagine. Just think of the phoenix bursting in the flames and rising from the ashes and doing that like my entire fucking life in every area of my life. That is a Pluto complex, okay? So this song is on, and I've heard it, probably 100 times, 75 times by this point. Listen, Queen, if this episode lights something up, don't just sit with it. Come rise with us. The Soulfire podcast is your weekly reminder that healing isn't about fixing who you are. It's about remembering who the fuck you've always been. And if you're craving more than just words, if you want community, authentic power, momentum, and soul transformation, then I want you to come join us in the free Star Guided Soul Healing community. This isn't another group. It's a vortex of women who are done pretending, who are reclaiming their power, their voice, and their divine assignment, and who know they were never meant to do this alone. Inside, we speak truth. We rise with soul-coded frameworks like Rise Times 3 and AUA, plus your own soul-coded values. We break patterns, we burn illusions, and we build empires because we rise. So come be witnessed, come be held, come be at home. Check out the link in the show notes. And please remember to subscribe, share, and send this podcast to a queen who's ready to rise. Now, back to the fire. And I tune in, like G and I are talking, and then all of a sudden I tune into the words. And I can't tell you in this moment what those words are, which is really weird about these songs. I don't really know the words, but they speak to my soul. They don't speak to my mind. So I don't have the words memorized because my mind isn't what's, hearing, feeling, and listening to them. My soul is. And I look at it. I had already told him, I was like, I feel unsettled. I should have never gone to the MRI with you. Like, I didn't have the capacity for that. I'm not ready to be absorbing that kind of energy. The fucking MRI office was packed full of people. So all of their energies were like attached. Like, it was just rough for me. And I was explaining this, and then I stopped talking, and then I heard the lyrics of the song, and then I looked at him and I said, this song is so perfect for me. It has been the first time I've ever listened to it. And those lyrics describe exactly how I'm feeling. And it was like, it like felt like this inside of me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. I just burst open. I started sharing everything that I felt. I started crying, but like in a very sobbing sort of way. Like, again, raw, the rawest, the realest, the most open, the most vulnerable, the most sensitive. And then I just poured it all out again. And then that was the second time in my life that I had been held at that level. And it happened in like a 2-week period. So here is what I want to say to you. There were truths in me that I couldn't find until someone looked me in the eyes and said, I see you. But not with words, with their energy. There's so much more to this earth than what we're tapping into. Everything is energy, yes. But when I say everything is energy, we are energy. Energy is us. Okay? And I have been working for about a year and a half, it's like literally identically since the second date with G to date, when we're at present day, on energy and channeling it and connecting to energy and using that as the language. See, in the ancient times, we're going into ancient history, ancient history, okay? In the ancient history times, they didn't speak like we do. There weren't languages. We weren't divided by language barriers. That was all designed. We all spoke one universal language, and that language was energy. It was felt. Now, you might be hearing this going, this is fucking nuts. There's no way. All right, let me roll this out. Then how do you understand what your dog needs, when it needs it, exactly how it needs it? How do you know how your cat's feeling when it's doing what it's doing? Do you think that that's the universal language of their energy and you understanding that energy, but you not realizing it? Because you've been conditioned to believe that in order to understand someone, you have to use words? My love language is feeling seen, heard, and understood. If you can do it in words, great. If you can do it through soul, that's the feeling I need. That's the feeling I'm going for. That's the feeling I crave. Pay attention to what I'm saying here. You know what your animals need without them telling you in words. But if you watch animals too, which I find is nuts, we have dogs that we've adopted, and when we got them, they never made audible noises with their mouth besides barking. But over time, they started trying to talk. They weren't barking. They were making sounds like they were trying to talk. We have a pit bull that we adopted. It's almost going to be 2 years now. We adopted him on Cinco de Mayo 2 years ago. His name is Rhodey, named after James Rhodes on Iron Man, right? We fucking love Marvel. Iron Man's like one of my favorite besides Doctor Strange. Like they're my top 2 favorite comic book characters. And this dog was just a normal, quiet dog. And now he has different ways that he audibly communicates based on his mood. If you're doing something he doesn't like, he grumbles at you in this certain grumble. If he wants to say hi to you, he says it to you in a different way. And so these dogs are trying to communicate like us. But they don't need to. Because their energy, we can read. So why do we read animals' energy, but we won't connect to each other's? Why are we attempting to use words to connect and to understand when we just need to feel? I'm telling you right now, if you think that this is hyperbole and you're like, this is nuts, she's nuts, like this isn't the podcast for you. Because we're only going deeper into this. Everything is vibration. Everything is energy. You've got the sacred geometry that speaks through us, right? Which is numbers and math and how things add up. There's the Hermetic principles that are the universal laws. There's the book Quantum Success by Sandra Ann Taylor that goes through even more universal laws. Everything is energy, but we are groomed and conditioned away from feeling into that energy and into this logical, monotonous, robotic sort of function. Think about phones and all the distractions and everything we have right now. Those things all emit frequencies and energies that interfere with our inability to, first and foremost, tune into ourselves, and then secondarily connect with other people without ever using words. That is why I'm a master at soul fluency, because my whole life, I have always felt into how someone feels. Not realizing it. It was an automatic thing. I was born with this gift. It was implanted in me for this life, for my intention and my purpose here. And it's so cool and it's so crazy. So this soul fluency is here. I have always healed souls through how I feel them energetically, not what someone tells me. I'm going to commit suicide, bad day, da-da-da-da-da. Feel. Boom, I spit out what I download. And they're like, how did you know that? I've never told anybody. I've only told my mom, whatever the fuck. How did you know that? You're a complete stranger. Do you know me? No. So I was already doing this before I realized that I could control it. This was an automatic. But for the last 17 months, I have been controlling it. I've been controlling it through my kisses. I've been controlling it through touching. I've been controlling it through my eyes. I've been working on communicating without words. Sometimes I will just think and think and think and think and see if I can push it telepathically. And that works 8 times out of 10. At the beginning, it didn't hardly work at all. It's nuts. When you intentionally tap into the power of the energy and transferring that energy to someone else, you will change the way that you operate. You will change the way that you show up. You will change the way that you feel. You will change not only your relationship with everyone else, but the relationship that you have with yourself. Because then the energy within yourself changes and it's giving you signals well before you burn out, well before you break down, well before you shut down, well before you put up the walls of protection, well before you run away. You'll now feel the energetic shifts and you'll be able to move from there earlier. And that's what season 4, Love Me More, is all about. You're going to learn so much more about this. You weren't meant to self-soothe every scar in silence. There's nothing weak about being witnessed. And in fact, it's literally where your real power begins. It's literally where your real power lives. And listen, you don't need advice. You don't need someone to save you. You just need a space where your soul can exhale. And when it does, it feels like shit. And that's what happened to me that first day, March 25th, 2024, when I was sitting outside. It was a Tuesday, waiting for G to come home. In that moment, my soul was exhaling, and it took it weeks to fully get its full breath. I didn't need a solution. I needed someone to sit with me while I remembered who the fuck I was. And you don't need a solution. You need someone to sit with you while you remember who the fuck you are. And listen, we're going to layer in the next thing here. I used to feel like helping someone fix a problem, a challenge, what they're going through, how they're feeling, was support. But what I realized, and vice versa, if someone was helping me fix what I was going through, right? I thought that was support. I don't need to just dump it all out and vent. No, I don't believe in venting still. I believe in a container where I'm being held by the energy of your love, where you see me clearly, where you see me rawly, where you see me in every aspect of me and have seen me in every aspect of me. And in that moment, you still hold me with all the love you possibly can, all the love that you've ever had for me, and just allow me to feel it. Just infuse it into me. That's all that's it. There's no words. There's no solutions. Those will all come. The universe is going to lead. You're going to be guided by synchronistic events and messages, and that's a whole other thing. You're getting like so many messages a day. Your guides, your angels, they're all leading you every single day, but you're missing them all. You think the song's stuck in your head because you listen to it on repeat. But what happens when it's a song you haven't listened to in months? Then why is it popping up right now? You think that the dreams are just random things that don't make any sense. You're confused on why you know it's this person, but they don't look the way that they do in this real life. You don't understand why you're having these repetitive dreams, but there's answers for that. There's just so much more than these computer screens and the fucking bullshit that is trying to distract you from what is most important, and that is your energy. And listen, you are allowed to want to be held without having to explain or perform. You are worthy of that kind of space. It's like, oh, you're breaking down, you're crying. What's going on? I am struggling. What's going on? I don't know. I just feel disconnected. What? It was someone's doing that. They're using mind and heart. But if they tune in and they feel your energy, that soul, and they'll just hold you. And they'll just heal you through that hug and that love. Exactly what I've been talking about. And listen, healing isn't just about being seen. Okay? It's not. It's about being seen safely. And that requires structure. And more specifically, it requires soul structure. You don't need more people. You need more safety in the people that you do have. You don't need more people. You need more safety in the people you do have. Say it in first person with me. I don't need more people. I need more safety in the people I have. I don't need more safety. I don't need more people. I need more safety in the people I have. I don't need more people. I need more safety in the people I have. You don't have to be afraid of vulnerability when your relationships are built with clarity, validation, and attunement. See, that's why I designed AUA/S, because it gives you the structure to build that with value, honor, love, and respect of yourself and the other person. I realized that something wasn't right and was never going to be right and never going to be fucking fixed. When every single time that Daniel and I got in conflict, the way that it ended was more because of exhaustion rather than coming together. Like, this is never going to work. We're never going to make it. It's always about who's right, who's wrong, agreeing and disagreeing, coming to each other's side, defending and blaming. This is destructive. This is cyclic. This has been happening for 20 years. Like, how the fuck are we going to get out of this? It's like, what's needed? And I have podcasts that explain how I got here, but in this season, in this version of me right now, I couldn't even tell you if I wanted to. I have no clue how I came up with AUA, but when I was designing it and coming up with it, I share how I did it in the podcast episodes. I don't know how I did it now. Remember, the A is acknowledge/validate. The U is understand. The second A is for action. And if there's no action to take, you go to S, which is surrender. It will save your relationships. It will rewrite how you communicate. It will bring you closer and promote connection. It'll make you feel seen, heard, and understood, and will do that for every single person in your life. And most importantly, it'll do it for your partner. So now let's move into your Rise times 3, the self codes. So these are the soul codes that help me reframe my own healing and call in connection without the fear, right? Because it's one thing to want to breathe the connection and build the connection and be this vulnerable, like I've shared with you here. And it's a whole other thing to do it without the fear. So in the self codes, there are respect. I honor my story and what I've survived. Initiation. I take responsibility for asking for what I need. The S, sacredness. My healing is holy, and it deserves to be held in all of its holiness. And the E is evidence. When I feel safe, I expand. That's proof that it's right. When I feel safe, I expand. I exhale. That's proof it's right. There are so many signals that I've missed my whole life that I had no clue that were there. And really, I mean, it's so crazy to think about the energy work I've done in the year, the breakdown I had with my mom in 2016, like all the things that brought me along my journey one step at a time. I have been very in tune with myself my whole life, but I have never understood my mind, my body, and my soul the way that I do now, and the signals that it gives because of the way that I use energy now. And I really, truly want that for you. Because you don't need to prove that you can do this. You don't need to prove that you can do it alone. Healing witnessed is not healing weakened. It's healing accelerated. Okay? So when you are able to read your own signals at the highest of levels, you can explain. Rephrase. You can share where you're at and what you need based on that signal. For example, we were going to the cottage. We were getting ready to clean it out, but we were going to stay there for 3 nights because it was our cycle to be there. It was our time to be there. And my soul was like, no. You cannot sleep there. You have completed that cycle. And I was like, wait, what? Is that what I'm feeling? No. You've completed that cycle. You were done. And I'm just like, wait, what? So I'm done? Yeah. My soul was like, you are done. And so therefore, I had to listen and I had to acknowledge it and I had to speak up. Well, I didn't have to, but I chose to. And I chose to because I choose me. And I choose me because I know when I choose me, I'm the best version of myself for me and I feel the best inside myself. So I want you to let yourself be seen. And don't confuse being seen with being loud. It's about being true. So ask yourself right now, where am I hiding my healing because I'm scared of being misunderstood? Who actually feels safe to be seen by? Like, who do I have that if they saw me in this, raw space that Alicia's talking about, that I'm safe there? And what would it feel like to let someone all of the way in? all of the way in. Declare this truth. I am safe to be seen. I am worthy of sacred space, and I do not have to do this alone. Lean in, my queen. You don't just get to be held. You need to be. That's how we rise together. Embody this. Choose yourself so completely that nobody gets to question your worth again. Extend to your soul the same mercy you once gave away to people who fucking dropped it. And stop shrinking to be chosen by people who can't even hold you. You're not a placeholder, you're the fucking revolution. So show up, speak up, and burn the damn box. I'm Power Coach Alishia, and this is your invitation to rise.